Why the least qualified rise to power? 1. Executive Overview. You evaluate how organizations and political systems can systematically elevate low competence to authority through incentive misalignment, information asymmetry, and governance failures that reward appearance over verified performance. Footnote. This section states the problem focus and frames the phenomenon as structural rather than anecdotal. 2. Core definitions. You distinguish competence as verifiable ability to achieve stated objectives, authority as the lawful or organizational right to direct others, and legitimacy as acceptance of that authority by governed parties based on rules and outcomes. Footnote. This section fixes the vocabulary used to separate skill, positional power, and social acceptance. 3. Mechanisms that elevate low competence. You identify recurring channels that promote low competence persons into power, including selection bias favoring confident presentation, network patronage that substitutes affiliation for merit, and threshold hiring that screens for credential form over demonstrated results. Footnote. This section lists the principal pathways that convert superficial signals into selection decisions. 4. Promotion to the level of incompetence. You observe that success in one role triggers advancement into qualitatively different roles where prior skills do not transfer, producing performance decay once task complexity surpasses the individual's effective boundary. Footnote. This section explains how role mismatch converts prior success into later failure. 5. Incentive distortions. You map how short horizon metrics, vanity indicators, and asymmetric payoffs reward visible motion and narrative control rather than durable outcomes, while downside risks are socialized across teams and stakeholders. Footnote. This section links compensation and evaluation design to predictable talent misallocation. 6. Information asymmetry and signal manipulation. You analyze how complex environments let candidates amplify signals through polished communication, selective reporting, and credential stacking that obscures weak causal contribution to results. Footnote. This section shows how noisy data and strategic signaling hinder accurate talent detection. 7. Governance and oversight gaps. You assess weak boards, conflicted gatekeepers, and fragmented accountability that allow narrative dominance to persist, including inadequate audit rights, limited clawback tools, and poor grievance channels. Footnote. This section attributes persistence of low competence leadership to institutional design failures. 8. Risk transmission to organizations and the public. You trace how low competence authority produces execution errors, regulatory breaches, safety incidents, capital misallocation, and morale erosion that compound into reputational and legal exposure. Footnote. This section connects leadership quality to measurable operational and legal risks. 9. Diagnostic indicators you can measure. You track leading signals such as rising gap between headline metrics and audited outcomes, staff turnover in critical roles, exception rate drift in controls, and strategy oscillation without hypothesis tests. Footnote. This section provides observable markers to detect emerging incompetence risk. 10. Mitigation strategies inside organizations. You implement role-specific competency maps, pre-commit to evidence thresholds for promotion, separate people leadership tracks from technical expert tracks, and require pre-mortems and red team reviews before high-stakes decisions. Footnote. This section prescribes internal design choices that align advancement with capability. 11. Contracting and compliance protections. You use performance-based milestones, audit clauses, disclosure warranties, clawbacks, and automatic review triggers tied to adverse events to constrain damage when leadership quality is uncertain. Footnote. This section outlines enforceable terms that protect stakeholders against poor execution. 12. Policy and public governance options. You support transparency rules, open data on outcomes, independent inspection bodies, and competence-based eligibility standards that reduce the gap between symbolic legitimacy and actual performance. Footnote. This section proposes external checks that push systems toward merit-based authority. 13. Action Checklist. You adopt a standing process to 1. Establish measurable role competencies, 2. Validate results with third-party evidence, 3. Align incentives to multi-period outcomes, 4. Stress test decisions with adversarial review, 5. Install remediation terms in contracts, 6. Publish outcome data for accountability. Footnote. This section condenses the report into concrete steps you can operationalize immediately.